नहि svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate avidyamāne svabhāve parabhāvo na vidyate.
Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate avidyamāne svabhāve parabhāvo na vidyate. MMK chapter 1 verse 2. In the version on bodhisvara.com, in the early texts, this is verse 3. But originally, I'm sure as I can be, this would have been verse 2. It makes sense like that. So the English translation: for the self-existence of things is not found among causes or anywhere else. So it follows on from the previous verse. Neither from self nor others, nor from both, nor also from no cause, have any things at all ever arisen anywhere. For the self-existence of things is not found among causes or anywhere else. Where intrinsic existence is not found, extrinsic existence is not found. So in these first two verses, Nagarjuna is just saying as clearly as he can the principle of emptiness, which is that what we conceive to be separately existing, self-existing, intrinsically existing things are in fact empty of their own self-existence. They're empty of intrinsic existence. And that has profound practical applications, which he's going to explore particularly in the closing chapters of MMK, like the Four Noble Truths, the meaning of nirvana, the true teaching of the dependent arising of suffering, and finally what it is to abandon all views. Those kind of ultimate practical concerns, all that kind of practical progress is possible because of emptiness. I was reflecting what I said in the commentary on yesterday's verse about Jack Reacher, the knight errant, the hero figure. And what I wanted to say, if I try again more clearly, is that there is no such thing as being a hero. And one shouldn't even try. But we all can follow a hero's way. And Jack might be that guy. That occurred to me just now while I was out in the garden making compost. So that it corresponds to what Dogen said: don't try to become Buddha, because that's the conception I had when I set off for Japan. How many years ago? 36 years ago. I wanted to become. I was very altruistic. I was quite unselfish. I wanted to get enlightened, then I would help people. But it doesn't work like that, because enlightenment conceived like that is a thing that I want to get for myself, and there ain't no such thing. That's what these two verses are saying. The self-existence of things is not found. So self-existence is svabhāva in its nominative singular masculine form, svabhāvah. But before bhava, the aha goes to o, so svabhāvo, self-existence. And a thing is bhava. So svabhāva is self-existence, and bhava, it means existing thing, existent thing. So they're both from the same root, bhu, which means to be or to become, to exist. So in MMK you get a lot of sentences in which there's a lot of bhavas and bhavas and svabhāva and parabhāva. So it's important to remember that he's kind of riffing on the verbal root to be, to exist. So for is he. It means because of what precedes. Hence it makes sense for this to be verse 2. following what's just been said in the first verse, that no thing has ever arisen anywhere. For the self-existence of things. Of things is, thing is bhava, genitive plural is bhāvānāṁ. The self-existence of things, svabhāvo, bhāvānāṁ, is not na, and for he. So, for the self-existence of things is not found. Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ. That's the important thing. The self-existence of things is not found. So if you want enlightenment, or you want to be a hero, or you want to sit in the right posture, all those things aren't found. They're not self-existing things. We conceive of them in our ignorance as self-existing things. I want to be a hero. I would like to be Buddha. My aim is just to sit in the right posture. It's all manifestations of ignorance. And out of ignorance arise samskaras. So those three things are samskaras. That is being a hero, being Buddha, having the right posture. Samskaras means fictions, fabrications, constructs. Yeah, they're fabrications that we confect, confections that we confect out of ignorance. So the practical implication of emptiness is that those samskaras that we conceive of as being self-existing things, they don't exist as self-existing things. The self-existence of things is not found. So, na vidyate is not found. Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ vidyate. For the self-existence of things is not found. So if you look for a hero, let's say Jack Reacher, you know, we read Lee Child's novels, and Jack Reacher's thinking is so straight, and he really stands up for justice, you know, and gives bad guys their just desserts. So it's quite inspiring, you know. I'd like to be like Jack Reacher. But when you look for Jack Reacher, if you look among your friends or people you know well, the self-existence of a hero is not found. There is no Jack Reacher in reality. He's just a construct of Lee Child's imagination, and he's the archetypal hero figure, the archetypal knight errant. So, yeah, he's real in the sense that archetype is real. But real, in Nagarjuna's teaching, means empty. Not self-existing, but empty. So because Jack Reacher is empty, we can be inspired by him, and we can follow the hero's way. See, there is no such thing as a self-existing hero, but there is a direction. The hero has got his direction, and we all can follow that. So this is where Jordan Peterson's tidy your room thing comes in. If you tidy your room, you start to think straight. You know, you become a little bit closer to the ideal of Jack Reacher. And that doesn't mean you'll ever realise that ideal, because the ideal is not a thing to be realised. But to go in that direction is the best that any of us can do, however much of a loser we have been hitherto. And yeah, so the first line again in English: for the self-existence of things is not found. The self-existence of things is not found among causes or anywhere else. So among causes would be pratyayādiṣu. Pratyaya means cause, as we looked at in yesterday's verse, and eshu is a locative plural ending. Pratyayādiṣu would mean among causes, but this says pratyayādiṣu, pratyayādiṣu, and so that's locative plural of pratyayādi, and adi means beginning, the beginning with, or beginning with. So it's usually translated etc. So pratyayādiṣu would be among causes, etc. But that seems weak to me. So what he's actually saying is, if you look for the self-existence of a hero, or a state of enlightenment. See, a state of enlightenment, Nishijima, my teacher Nishijima Sensei would say, balance of the autonomic nervous system is concretely, that's the state of enlightenment. But if you look for what the balance of the autonomic nervous system is, there ain't no such thing, It's like, look, go riding your bicycle and try and identify balance, Where is balance found? It doesn't exist as a thing unto itself. Of course, balance is real when you're riding a bicycle. It's the most important thing. But if you stop your bike, if you stop pedaling and search for balance, you'll fall off your bike. As I think it was Einstein that said that. So balance is not a thing that you can identify and find by looking at the nervous system under a microscope. Balance is empty. It's not a separately existing thing. That's what he's saying. So that's what he's saying. Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate. For the self-existence of things, the self-existence of things is not found. Na vidyate. For the self-existence of things, svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ, is not found. Na vidyate. Among causes. That would be pratyayādiṣu, but this is pratyayādiṣu. So among causes and, so among places or among things beginning with causes. So I've translated among causes or anywhere else. If you look for self-existence, you won't find it anywhere. But he said here, beginning with causes, because this chapter is the beginning of his explorations, and this chapter he's exploring causes. So what he's saying is, we're here to study emptiness in MMK. So in all the chapters that follow, you will not find the self-existence of a thing. So if he studies the skandhas, you'll find that there is no self-existence of skandhas. If we study time, there is no self-existence of time. If you study the Tathagata, the Buddha, the thus come, you won't even find the self-existence of the Buddha. So this object that we worship as if he really existed, the self-existence of Buddha is not found. When we study the self-existence of the self is not found. The intrinsic existence of the self is not found. When we study karma or action, the self-existence of action is not found. So we're starting that exploration with pratyaya. We're starting at the thing, the so-called thing, where everything goes back to. Pratyaya means what we go back to. So it could mean belief. It means cause, it means the grounds. In the next verse, I'm going to argue that it could mean the vestibular reflexes, because a lot of human action goes back to the vestibular reflexes. So again, nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate. Na, not, he, for, svabhāvo, self-existence, bhāvānāṁ, of things, pratyayādiṣu, among causes or anywhere else, among causes, etc. Vidyate is found. Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate. For the self-existence of things is not found among causes or anywhere else. Now, it might sound this is kind of dry theoretical stuff, but it relates very much to my practical journey to get to the bottom of what it means to sit upright. So I was taught 36 years ago, the most important thing, if you want to be Buddha, if you want to go in that direction, is how you to sit in lotus in a good posture, to sit upright. And so I struggled mightily under the non-empty conception. There was a thing called right posture, and I wanted to get my dirty paws on it. But when I came back after many struggles in Japan, came back to England, met an Alexander teacher named Nellie Ben-Orr. She was sort of uniquely insightful. Well, she was very good at taking the piss out of me. So wanting to get the dirty paws on it is exactly her phrase. That's what she was always telling me. You want to get your dirty paws on it. So I want to get my dirty paws on understanding, on really getting a grip on what it is to have right posture. But the irony is, when you let go, just as Master Dogen said at the beginning of Shobo Genzo, when you let go, it already fills your hands. It's the conception that there's something for me to get, which makes me grasp, and that creates the suffering. In postural terms, it creates a stiffness or a tension in your posture. So it might sound like this is dry theory and not something which would need concern a sort of an old Zen drill who's really just concerned with their sitting practice. But it's actually the practical implication for sitting practice is totally vital when you really understand what this is saying. Which, of course, scholars who are not sitting practitioners who try and interpret it, they don't get the point at all because they don't see the practical implication of it. So line 2. Where intrinsic existence is not found, so intrinsic existence, another translation of svabhāva, self-existence, intrinsic existence. And here svabhāva is locative again, svabhāve. So where intrinsic existence or in intrinsic existence not being found is avidyamāne, not being found. So being found is the present participle passive of vid. Vid is to know or to find. So vidyamāne means being found. Avidyamāne, not being found. Avidyamāne, locative, in not being found. So avidyamāne svabhāve, in self-existence not being found. In other words, where self-existence is not found, where intrinsic existence is not found. And then you can guess the second half of the sentence. Extrinsic existence is not found. So where there's no self, there's no other. How can there be an other without there being a self? They're two wrong conceptions dependent on each other. So extrinsic existence is parabhāvo, parabhāva. So bhava, again, existence or existent thing, and para means the other or others. So parabhāva means extrinsic existence, or if we say svabhāva is self-existence of a thing unto itself, parabhāva is extrinsic existence of a thing unto others. So if I self-exist as a self, the chair in front of me on which the computer is resting has extrinsic existence as a thing unto the other, which would be me. Avidyamāne svabhāve parabhāvo vidyate. Where intrinsic existence is not found, extrinsic existence is not found. Where intrinsic existence is not found, extrinsic existence is not found. Avidyamāne, in not being found. Svabhāve, in self-existence. Avidyamāne svabhāve, in self-existence not being found. Where intrinsic existence is not found. Parabhāvo vidyate, extrinsic existence is not found. Parabhāvo, extrinsic existence, not vidyate, is found. The other thing I wanted to say in connection with this verse, I alluded to it a minute ago when I talked about being a loser. when I was in my 20s, I made it. If you go back before that, when I was in my teens, I used to like betting on the horses, and I realised when you bet on the horses, it's not a question of to make money out of it. You don't have to win very often. You just have to have a good understanding of risk and reward. So if you get if you bet on horses that are 10-1 and you lose 8 times but win twice, you're going to make a lot of money. If you always bet on odds-on favourites and they only win 50% of the time, you're going to lose a lot of money. So I understood from that sometimes it's really good to put all your eggs in one basket if the odds are on your side. So when I met Gudo Nishijima in the 80s, when I was in my 20s, I intuitively thought, I'm going to put all my eggs in this guy's basket. If he's true, we're going to save the world together. That's what he thinks he's going to do. And if he's not true, well, I'm going to lose all my eggs. But, I'm 20, I'll start again at 35 or whatever. So it was a conscious calculation. And it turned out that his teaching wasn't true in the terms I'd conceived it. So I was the biggest loser you could imagine. And losing, I'm a bad loser as well. I always have been. Just play rugby, going back on the coach, if we'd lost, I'd be truly miserable. I was very competitive, always wanted to be top of the class, and didn't like losing. I still don't like losing. Being a loser sucks, but I have been a loser. You just, it doesn't take a genius to look at my history and say, I've been the loser. Because I took sides against my teacher, and he sort of joined forces with people who took his side, and so suddenly I found myself being on the opposite side. In fact, I didn't take sides against my teacher, but certain people convinced him that I had done. So anyway, the point is, I've been the loser, and I've been a loser by putting all my eggs in one basket of a teacher who I gambled his teaching might be true. It turned out his teaching wasn't true. And so this verse is evidence of that, because if you look up Nishijima Sensei's interpretation of the 4 philosophies, he wrote a pamphlet called Understanding Shobo Genzo somewhere. And he coined this. When I met him, he used to say idealism, materialism, philosophy of action, and reality were the 4 phases. That was his take on the Buddha's 4 Noble Truths, which incidentally Nagarjuna explains the true meaning of in terms of emptiness in chapter 24. But Nishijima Sensei's take on it was idealism, materialism, action, and reality. And then he coined this SOAR, subject, object, action, reality. That's how he represented the 4 phases. So this is philosophically, he said it like this: there's subjective philosophies and objective philosophies. Like, let's say, Hegel is subjective, his student Marx is objective, and then action is a kind of a dialectic meeting of subject and object. So once he used the metaphor of, if you try and balance 2 chopsticks together, it won't be stable, but if you put a third one there, then you've got a stable structure. So it was there's subject, self, there's object, environment, and action is the place where subject meets object. Like another metaphor was, you're striking a match. You've got the sandpaper and you've got the phosphorus on the match. To get apart, there's no power in them, but when you strike the match on the matchbox, you get fire. So, the reason it's a bad metaphor is what Nagarjuna is clarifying here. There is no subject without an object. There's no object without a subject. So how can subject and object come together? MMK is full of Nagarjuna explaining things in that kind of way. Our stupid conception is that the subject and object, and they meet in action. But Nagarjuna is at pains to falsify that kind of thinking. There's no self-existing subject, and there's no self-existing object. But that's how people think. So when you get these clever bods trying to explain what Nagarjuna was saying by emptiness, they say, yeah, like the chair in front of me, you know, it doesn't exist as a thing in itself. It's actually composed of carbon atoms. So no, it's not composed of carbon. There's no such bloody thing as carbon atoms. You've missed the point. What you think of as carbon atoms or electrons or muons, they're also empty. What's the exact wording? For the self-existence of things is not found. Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate. The self-existence of things is not found among causes or anywhere else. It's not found among carbon atoms. It's not found among electrons. It's not found among muons. This is just as Carlo Rovelli's pointed out. There are no things like stones. What there are is empty dharmas, which are like kisses. So again, there are no people like heroes, but there is following that direction. It's following the direction that the hero is also following. That's what there is. So that's what the Buddha's teaching is about. It's following a way. Marga Satya, the truth of a way. Following a way leading to the cessation of suffering. That is what the heroes of the past have done. They followed a way leading to the cessation of suffering. And they've taught others the way leading to the cessation of suffering. But none of them have actually stopped suffering once and for all. And none of them actually became any such thing as a hero. They were just following the way of their predecessor heroes. So that's one way in which my teacher's teaching was wrong. Okay, so I lost my bet. And then the other way his teaching was wrong, the first time I realised clearly that he was wrong, was in the matter of right posture. Because after 13 years of struggle, I realised my efforts to get right posture, to get my dirty paws on right posture, were making my posture worse and worse. You know, basically, I was breathing abdominally like I was in a karate fight the whole time, as if someone was going to punch me at any moment. I was going to get punched in the abdomen. In other words, I was doing the breathing, which is good if you're in a karate fight, you know. Or if you're playing the trumpet, you have to breathe forcefully. But when you're sitting and following the way of the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, it isn't necessary to grip onto your own abdomen like somebody's going to punch you in the stomach. On the contrary, you don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. And so the way to stop doing that kind of stuff is stop trying to get your dirty paws on right posture. So as I was taught that by Alexander teachers, I knew for damn sure that my teacher's teaching about right posture was not true. And when I observed his reaction to me telling him that his teaching wasn't true, I realised again that he wasn't true, because he started to see me as his enemy. And kind of this is my true Buddhism. This is true Buddhism, my Dharma, my true Buddhism. And if you disagree with it, you're a non-Buddhist. It's the typical response of the cult leader. The absolute opposite of the truth. So, yeah, so I lost my bet, and as I said yesterday, the upshot of it all is suicidal thoughts. So my target audience is similar to the audience that Jordan Peterson has. He hasn't aimed at them, but they found him, which is the young bloke who's demonised by angry feminists because of his masculinity, and he's not rewarded by society by hard work because all the financial rewards are accruing to the top 1 or 2%. And so, I want to speak to fellow losers, and that's what I was trying to say yesterday. We're never going to be heroic winners, because when you look for a heroic winner, actually, although we can see that there are such people out there, there is no such thing as a heroic winner, not as a self-existing thing. But there are heroes who are following the direction of other heroes. They're following a direction, they're following the way of a hero. And that we can do, for example, by tidying our room, or by composting our leftovers and growing veg, or by learning a verse. Even if it's only one verse, you can do it. You can learn it in Sanskrit. It's not as difficult as you think. Just learn it like a nursery rhyme, very modestly, reciting after Professor Kasinathnyaupane on bodhisvara.com. Just recite this verse. Gradually you'll understand what it means and you'll be going in the right direction. And that's all that anybody can do.
Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate.
Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate.
Avidyamāne svabhāve parabhāvo na vidyate.
Avidyamāne svabhāve parabhāvo na vidyate. Come on, recite this verse after the good professor. If you learn it in Sanskrit and gradually understand what it means in English, it'll save your life.
Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ.
Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ.
Pratyayādiṣu vidyate.
Pratyayādiṣu vidyate. For there is no self-existence of things. Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ. Pratyayādiṣu vidyate. Not found among causes or anywhere else.
Vidyamāne svabhāve.
Avidyamāne svabhāve. Where self-existence is not found. In self-existence not being found.
Parabhāvo na vidyate.
Parabhāvo na vidyate. Extrinsic existence is not found. Where intrinsic existence is not found, extrinsic existence is not found. Where self is not found, other is not found. Let's try it again.
Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate.
Nahi svabhāvo bhāvānāṁ pratyayādiṣu vidyate. For the self-existence of things is not found among causes or anywhere else.
Avidyamāne svabhāve parabhāvo na vidyate.
Avidyamāne svabhāve parabhāvo na vidyate. Where intrinsic existence is not found, extrinsic existence is not found. Come on, you loser. Learn the Sanskrit verse. Understand what it means in English. And even a loser like you will be able to follow the direction of a true hero, like Nagarjuna, like Asvaghosha, like Gautama Buddha.